Welcome back to the Lunch Hour with Mr. Credit. And today, it's Thrive Thursday on ESPN Radio 1700.
Welcome back. You are listening to Jeffrey Kahn, the principal tax attorney of the Kahn Tax Law Team. In today's show, we are focusing on what should you do where you have undisclosed foreign bank accounts and unreported foreign income. But first, I should have on the line, I want to introduce you to my associate, Amy Spivey. Amy, you there?
Yeah, hi, Jeff.
Hey, great. Thanks for joining me on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay. You know, Amy and I have been going crazy for about the last week or so because we have been getting so many calls, so many inquiries, because there's a huge deadline coming up this June 30th that if you have a foreign bank account, you need to report that over to the IRS. And so a lot of people, not familiar with this area of the law, not familiar with what their obligations are, have been calling us and asking us questions. So Amy and I, we've kind of like taken down some of these questions and we've put them together in the show so we can educate you and make you smarter than everyone else and hopefully get you to do the right thing if, in fact, you are a taxpayer with an undisclosed foreign bank account. So, Amy, the first thing that I know that comes to somebody's mind is, when would I have an undisclosed foreign bank account?
Well, there's a few situations that we typically see where a client has an undisclosed foreign bank account. The first situation is maybe a relative who lives in a foreign country, such as a grandparent, opened a bank account for you when you were a child, just for some sort of savings, and maybe you're going to get it when they retire. But the grandparents never told you about the account. A second situation that we see is for clients who previously lived in a foreign country, and while living there, they set up a foreign account and then kept it open when they moved back to the United States. And finally, the last situation we see pretty often is where you inherited an account for someone who lived in a foreign country and died, and then the account switched to your name when that person passed.
Okay. Boy, I bet you a lot of people are scratching their heads figuring, man, oh man, I wish I could be so lucky and have a, undisclosed foreign bank account. But, if you do happen to have one, whether you recently learned about it or knew for quite some time that you had this foreign account, there are specific reporting requirements that you must follow. Amy, what are those requirements?
Well, a lot of people don't know that the United States has a requirement that you report your worldwide income on your U.S. tax returns, and such as interest that you earned from a foreign bank account, dividends such as that. Also, when you file your tax return, you must include what's called a Schedule B, and this is where you report interest and dividends. But on the bottom of the form, on Part 3, there is a box that asks whether you have foreign bank accounts, and if you do, you must answer yes. The third thing is, along with your tax return, you must complete a Form 8938, which is the Statement of Foreign Financial Assets, which is similar to the next form that you have to file is the FBAR, which you mentioned previously, which must be filed by June 30th. And that form is called the FinCEN 114.
Okay. Now, that last form that you talked about, didn't the government make some changes in that form or something?
Yeah, it used to be you can file a paper form that was called TDF 90-22.1, but this year is the first year that you are required to file it electronically through the Bank Secrecy Act's e-filing system.
Wow. So, folks, basically now the way that the IRS has got this set up, if you've got a foreign bank account, you're actually feeding that information directly into the IRS computer, and now that computer can start right away with matching up with other information. That's a pretty scary thing. Amy, what are some of the penalties if somebody doesn't comply with this stuff?
Well, the most significant penalty is for a failure to file the FBAR, which we just explained used to be TDF 90-22.1, and it's that FinCEN 114, which is called the Report of Foreign Bank and Financial Accounts. The civil penalty for willfully failing to file the FBAR is the greater of $100,000 or 50% of the total balance of the foreign account per violation. And there's also a separate penalty for non-willful violations that are not due to reasonable cause. And the penalty in that situation is $10,000 per violation. And by per violation, that is $10,000 per account per year. So the statute of limitations on the FBAR is 6 years. So essentially, the government can go back for 6 years and penalize you on each of those years per account that you failed to report.
Wow. So that $10,000 per account per year, it doesn't matter whether you have a dollar in the account, $100 or $1,000. That's a flat $10,000 per account per year, correct?
Correct.
Wow. So then if I have just one account and that account's got a constant $15,000 in there each year, and I didn't file an FBAR for 6 years, 6 times 10, that's $60,000. That's more than what I have in the account.
Yes, definitely.
Well, that is absolutely crazy. And then, not only can the IRS hit you up with those kind of penalties, but criminal penalties are also possible and can include fines up to $500,000 and or 10 years in prison. You know, these are serious penalties. If you have undisclosed foreign bank accounts, you should not ignore this. We have a special offer for Mr. Credit listeners. The law offices of Jeffrey B. Kahn will provide you with a tax resolution plan, which is a $500 value for free, as long as you mention Mr. Credit when you call to make an appointment. Call our office to make an appointment and you'll meet with me, Jeffrey Kahn, right here in downtown San Diego. The number to call is 866-494-6829. That is 866-494-6829. So, Amy, you've informed our listeners of the penalties when you're caught by the IRS. What's the solution?
Well, fortunately for many taxpayers, the IRS has a few different programs in place where clients can come, hire counsel, and voluntarily come forward to the IRS before the IRS catches you for failing to file the FBAR and report your income, and it will be a lot more forgiving with the penalties that they impose.
Okay. Well, that seems to make a lot of sense. I know just with dealing with, normal tax problems that don't involve anything foreign, that a taxpayer always fares better when we call into the IRS, in other words, be proactive, as opposed to responding to a knock on the door by an IRS agent. We got a little time left. Amy, let me give you a hypothetical and tell me the maximum penalties that can be imposed by IRS. Raj is an engineer working and living in California. He was born in India and came to California after completing his education in India. While he was a child, his parents set up a bank account in India, which he didn't even know about until just recently. That account has been earning interest all these years and now has a balance of $100,000. Amy, what penalties does Raj face?
Well, Raj will have to pay the back taxes on any of the interest that those accounts earned, plus interest, and a 20% accuracy-related penalty for the unreported interest income. Additionally, those FBAR penalties of $10,000 per account per year, so going back 6 years, that's $60,000.
Wow. So when I total that all up, Raj started out with an account, $100,000. and he's got to end up paying out to the IRS $70,000, leaving $30,000. That's a 70% reduction in value. Now, on the flip side, if Raj were to come forward in one of these programs, a lot of these penalties are eliminated, and instead, Raj would be hit with a one-time penalty of 5%. 5% on $100,000 is $5,000. So coming forward into one of these programs, Raj, who started out with $100,000, would still be left with about $93,000. So that's only a $7,000 reduction in value. So it's really, really important that people come forward, take advantage of these different programs, and at the law offices of Jeffrey B. Kahn, we can provide you with that plan, that tax resolution plan, $500 value for free, as long as you mention Mr. Credit when you call to make the appointment. The number to call is 866-494-6829, 866-494-6829. Stay tuned, because we've got a lot more information for you on this. You are listening to Jeffrey Kahn, the principal tax attorney of the Kahn Tax Law Team, on the Mr. Credit Show.
If you would like free advice from Mr. Credit, just call or text 619-786-7853. That's 619-786-7853.
Welcome back to the Lunch Hour with Mr. Credit. And today, it's Thrive Thursday on ESPN Radio 1700.
We're listening to Jeffrey Kahn, the principal tax attorney of the Kahn Tax Law Team. And I have joining me my associate, Amy Spivey. Hey, Amy, I think now would be a good time to talk about the 9 things that will elevate a person's chances of being targeted by IRS for past non-disclosure of foreign accounts and or failure to report worldwide income.
Sure. So the first thing is, if you start to report your foreign income on your 2013 tax return, even though you did not disclose foreign income in previous years.
Okay. Yeah, that definitely is a target, or what I like to call a red flag, because all of a sudden, you're reporting on your 2013 return that this account with thousands of dollars offshore just happened to spring up. And the IRS computers, when they see this kind of information, the computer does an analysis to say, hey, where could have this money come from? Is there other reported income on the return? And when the computers see, hey, there's a discrepancy there. There's no way that somebody earning $40,000 a year all of a sudden has a foreign bank account having $100,000 in it. Doesn't make any sense. Computers say, we need to flag this person for an audit. So starting to report foreign income on your 2013 income tax return, when you haven't done it in the past, definite red flag. What's the next one, Amy?
So similarly, you start to report your foreign accounts on the FBAR in 2013, even though you didn't disclose that on previous FBARs.
Again, another red flag. You're doing something so different from previous returns. The computers are picking this up. The computer, when you file, for example, your 2013 return, it's not like the computer's just focused on that return. The computer will also be focused on changes that have occurred from the previous year to the current year. So definitely you don't want to do anything, major that's going to, cause scrutiny unless you plan in advance and go into one of the programs that the IRS has. What's the next one, Amy?
Filing delinquent FBARs with or without a statement as to why you're filing them late.
Right. Remember, it's a two-prong requirement that if you have foreign bank accounts, it's not only just to disclose the foreign bank account, but it's also to report the income that that account is generating. So just filing the F bars and figuring, hey, I'm okay, still doesn't address the fact that you didn't report the foreign income on those accounts in previous years, which I believe is going to lead to the next target.
Yeah, so the next one, like you said, is filing amended income tax returns, identifying that you have foreign accounts and reporting your foreign income.
Right. So once again, that's the second prong. You have to report your worldwide income, and just filing these amended returns from prior years, filing the delinquent F bars, is not going to protect you from the IRS, and if anything, elevates you even higher to get their attention. And that's why the law offices of Jeffrey B. Kahn will provide you with a tax resolution plan, which is a $500 value for free, as long as you mention Mr. Credit when you call to make an appointment. The number to call is 866-494-6829. That is 866-494-6829. Amy, let's continue on with these targeted items.
Sure. So the next one is supplying your foreign bank account with your identifying information so that the bank can report you to IRS for having foreign accounts.
Okay. Yeah. Lately, some people have been figuring, well, I'll give my foreign bank my social security number. I'll give them all of my U.S. information, so then this way they can go ahead and start reporting me to the IRS. Well, all you're doing is you're making it a whole lot easier for the IRS to find you sooner. And, you don't want to be doing that without first being protected into one of these programs. What's the next one, Amy?
So if you start ignoring requests from foreign banks that are requesting your identifying information.
Right. So unlike the previous item where you're just voluntarily coming forward to the foreign bank and providing them with your U.S. information, there are banks out there, especially the Swiss banks, which are obligated to report U.S. taxpayers now to the IRS, and they're obligated under Swiss law. And they're sending out letters to U.S. account holders saying, hey, you're being reported, provide us with your information, and that's going to be included in everything that we're telling the IRS about you. So you definitely don't want to ignore those requests. You want to get in on a plan. What's the next one, Amy?
If you transfer funds from the United States to a foreign account, or vice versa, from the foreign account then to your United States account.
Yeah, people, we live in a day and age, where there's terrorism, there's money laundering, and you've got all the countries in at least the industrialized world coordinating together and reporting information on the flow of money. Okay? So it's no different from, ordinary people transferring money between accounts. This is all being tracked through the banking channels, and no telling at what point then it gets turned over to the IRS. What's the next one, Amy?
So if you pay your credit cards or other bills from an account associated with a foreign bank.
Yeah, some people think that they're smart, thinking, all right, I'm going to put money abroad. The bank abroad is going to give me a credit card, and now I can go charge up whatever I want to here in the States, and the credit card is going to be paid by my funds in the foreign bank account. All of this is tracked. You're leaving such a huge audit trail for the IRS to track down the flow of this money and discover what it is that you haven't been reporting. Believe we're down to number 9 on on your list?
Right. So number 9 is closing your foreign account and withdrawing the funds or transferring the funds to another bank. And that's whether to the United States or to a different foreign bank.
Okay. Yeah, we've had people come to us and say, hey, Jeff, hey, Amy, what if I just close the account and I'll bring the funds even back into the U.S.? Will that cure my past noncompliance? The answer is no. And if anything, it shows maybe a matter of willfulness, that here you knew that there was a problem, and instead of being proactive and addressing it, you try and hide it by closing the account and transferring the funds. By the way, closing the account, that won't stop a bank from identifying that you were once a U.S. account holder having an account with that bank. We are, clients and others have approached us where they got letters, for example, from a Swiss bank, and they closed the account 2 years ago. And they're still getting a letter from the Swiss bank that they are being reported to the IRS. IRS has got a 6-year statute. So at any time in the last 6 years, you had a foreign bank account, didn't report the income, didn't report that you had the account, you're exposed. And that's why the law offices of Jeffrey B. Kahn will provide you with a tax resolution plan, which is a $500 value for free, as long as you mention Mr. Credit when you call in to make the appointment. The number to call is 866-494-6829. Again, that's 866-494-6829. Call that number, tell him you heard about us from Mr. Credit, and you will meet with me, Jeffrey Kahn, right here in downtown San Diego. Well, stay tuned, as we will be taking some of your additional questions. You are listening to Jeffrey Kahn, the principal tax attorney of the Kahn Tax Law Team.
If you would like free advice from Mr. Credit, just call or text 619-786-7853. That's 619-786-7853.
Welcome back to the Lunch Hour with Mr. Credit. And today, it's Thrive Thursday on ESPN Radio 1700.
Welcome back. You are listening to Jeffrey Kahn, the principal tax attorney of the Kahn Tax Law Team, along with my associate, Amy Spivey. Okay, Amy, I know during the commercial break you were busy going through the Mr. Credit and Kahn Tax Law inboxes to find some good, interesting questions to ask me on the show. So, what did you find?
Okay, so Sanjay, he writes, my CPA, who I've been going to for years, has never told me that I had to report my foreign income. Now that I know I have to report my foreign income and disclose my foreign bank accounts, do I accept my CPA's offer to represent me in OVDI, or do I hire you?
Very good question. And you know, we hear that a lot. CPAs, they prepare tax returns. And there's a lot of CPAs and other tax professionals who are great in preparing tax returns. Taxpayer provides them with information and tax documents, and a return gets generated for filing with the IRS. This is a process that I refer to as compliance, and it's something that we all do, you know, as U.S. taxpayers, year after year after year. But there's a difference with a tax attorney as opposed to an accountant or CPA or tax preparer, because a tax attorney focuses on representation, meaning that the cases taken on by the attorney are when the IRS is questioning a return or making other civil or even criminal inquiries of a taxpayer. So, us being tax attorneys, we're familiar with this representation aspect. We know how to speak to the IRS and how best to present your case. As a tax attorney, we can also devote full attention to your case at any time, since a tax attorney's workload is usually not jammed up like a CPA's workload during tax season. And during tax season, we all know our CPA, our accountant, they're busy with tax return preparation and focused on meeting those current filing deadlines that, your case and dealing with back tax issues, an audit, investigation, that's going to take the back burner with them. Well, that kind of matter needs to be front and center. And that's why a taxpayer who engages a tax attorney, to resolve these problems, they're going to get the best possible result because they're being resolved, they're being addressed sooner as opposed to later. Speaking of civil and criminal inquiries, a taxpayer who engages a tax attorney also gets the benefit of attorney-client privilege. So this allows anyone who comes to see me, comes to see Amy, that they can discuss with us, because we're attorneys, all matters, all issues, without the threat of those communications being disclosed to the government or anyone else. You don't get this level of privilege when dealing with non-attorneys. But I would have to say that the biggest factor is that with a tax attorney who wasn't involved in the preparation of your return, there is no conflict of interest. So the best way for me to explain this is by an example. If it's a great defense that you relied on your tax preparer to tell you whether you had to report your foreign accounts and foreign income, do you think your tax preparer would put himself under the bus to save you from the IRS? Chances are not. But if you're coming to a tax attorney who had no involvement in the preparation of your returns, that tax attorney can make those arguments and say how you were innocent. You didn't know, you weren't informed, you weren't told by your accountant or tax preparer about what these requirements were. And that's huge. That's huge. You want, when you have a problem with the IRS, you have the IRS coming after you, or even any state tax agency, you want to be able to have all the defenses available. You want to be able to have all of the explanations, all the exceptions, whatever it is, on your side, and you want the person representing you to be able to utilize all those tools to get the best possible result with the IRS. Amy, did you have anything you wanted to add on that?
Well, in this situation, we have lots of experience with making some legal arguments that maybe need to be made in your case that the CPA, they just cannot make those legal arguments because they're not trained in that. So especially if you have a criminal situation, if it's something that may lead to a criminal investigation, you should definitely hire a tax attorney and not, go to your CPA and have them handle this.
That's right.
We are very experienced in this, and we know exactly what to say, exactly how to handle it.
That's right. And the number to call for the law offices of Jeffrey B. Kahn is 866-494-6829. Again, that's 866-494-6829. Well, we're reaching the end of our show. Hey, Amy, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
And we'd love to hear your feedback. Keep sending us your questions. Please let Mr. Credit know how you like the show by going to the Mr. Credit website or our website at www.kahntaxlaw.com. That's KAHN, taxlaw.com. Have a great day filled with smart decisions.
If If you would like to contact Mr. Credit or access any free offers mentioned on the show, just go to mrcredit.org. That's mrcredit.org.